Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Mental Toughness and Body Show, where we talk peak performance, elite health, and building unbreakable lives. Today, I'm joined by Kellan Fluckiger, transformation coach, best-selling author, and host of Your Ultimate Life podcast. Now, after decades at the top of corporate leadership and battling through some depression and addiction, Kellan rebuilt everything, and now he helps people unlock purpose, resilience, and lasting impact, which is super important. So it's a raw episode, it's powerful, but what we're going to do is have a look at what it truly takes to live a life that matters. So Callum Wake, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. And the first thing I want to do is just acknowledge you. Doing a podcast and show like this is a labor of love. And I just think you're cooler than anything for doing it. So thank you.
Thank you. I actually just recorded a podcast before hitting connection with you here, and I was just saying how cool it is that we live in this time that we do now, where we can just really just stay in our homes, click a button, and connect with people on the other side of the world in different time zones. It's like it's 6:21 a.m. here in Melbourne, Australia. It's evening, afternoon where you are.
Yeah, 2:21. So there you go. In the afternoon.
Yeah, there you go. So let's jump into it. Look, what I wanted to talk about first up is what is the mental shift that you had to make to go from, say, rock bottom to where you are now?
So in August of 2007, I was in the top of all that corporate stuff and making a lot of money. And I was a single dad. I was single for the third time. And I was also a drug addict, a $3,000 a week cocaine addict. And I was making enough money that didn't matter. And I was a suicide risk and had actually attempted a couple times. So that was the description of looks good on the outside, cool, lots of money, dying on the inside, both figuratively and literally
So
on the backside.
can I just ask there, did people around you, did they think something's up here? Or,
Yeah,
yeah, right, okay.
they knew. I mean, like everybody, here's the thing. I was so, quote, good at what I did. I was able to do that, but everybody in the office knew I had problems. And some of the people in the industry knew that there was something going on. Some suspected there were rumors, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, there were rumors, and who knows how long it would have been before, some ungodly crash or whatever happened. But I had I'll call it a divine intervention that happened in August of 2007 that woke me up to different possibilities. And from that place, I just walked away from everything and started life over again. It could have been that in a month or two or another year or whatever, that there would have been some external crash. Instead, there was an internal crash, a divine invitation kind of thing that consisted of a series of impossible events that made me choose to walk away from everything and start life over again. And that was the moment. So August of 2007, this shift happened, but the shift didn't solve any problems. It was just a realization, and I'm happy to tell the story of what happened. It's just whether or not you want to take a few minutes to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, if you're happy to just share what you're happy to share.
Yeah, cool. So August of 2007, I came home on a Friday night. I had 4 of my 10 children living with me.
Jeez.
As a single dad, I was, like I said, a $3,000 a week cocaine addict and a big shot in my industry. And when I got home that Friday night, I was going to go out and party. And when I got ready to go out, I just had this urge to turn on the television. And that doesn't sound like anything, except I didn't watch TV. I mean, I had the biggest, coolest crap you could buy because I had 4 teenagers in the house, but I didn't watch. So I picked up the remote and realized I didn't know how to turn it on. And so my 16-year-old daughter, she punched some buttons and threw the remote at me, dipweed dad. And it landed on a program that I'd never heard of called Intervention. I don't know if that's still on, but it's a reality TV show about families who stage professional interventions for busted loved ones, right? So I watched a little bit of it, and it was the protagonist was a high-ranking executive with a cocaine problem.
Wow.
So I watched about 10 minutes of my life, and I said, yeah, I'm not watching this crap. And I turned it off and went and did some other stuff. And when I got ready to go out, I just had this urge to turn on the TV again. And this time I knew how. So I did, and that program started over. And no, I didn't have a DVR, and no, it wasn't on the schedule, and no, it can't do that. But it
Meant to
did.
be.
So, yeah, it freaked me out. I'm like, holy crap. So I watched this program, and it was, half an hour, and it went badly. The guy yelled at his family, swore he didn't have a problem, and stomped out of the intervention. But it freaked me out. So instead of going out to party, I went to bed. When I went to bed, I went to hell. And what I mean by that is I went somewhere, it felt out of body. I was in a theater and I could see scenes on the stage, and the scenes on the stage were all scenes out of my life, but each one was focused on suffering. The suffering that I had endured as a kid. I had lots of physical abuse and a bunch of other stuff, up to the suffering I had inflicted on everybody as a drug addict and a liar and a lousy marriage partner, and the list is long, right? And watching all those scenes one after another was more intense than I know how to describe. It was just impossible. So after a long time, I heard a voice behind me and to the right say really clearly, "It is enough."
Mm.
I woke up and I realized I'd been invited to change, but I was completely freaked out for three reasons. One, I was all twisted and upside down and backwards in bed. Two, the bed sheets were completely soaked. And I had
Mm.
no idea that a body could lose that much liquid, but that is a reflection, I guess, of the intensity of the experience. But the thing that really freaked me out was the sun was shining in the bedroom window and the windows faced west. And I got up and realized it was 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon and I'd been somewhere for 18 hours.
Wow.
Okay, so I got up and realized, okay, look, I've been invited to change. I have no frickin' clue what to do, how to do this, where to go, like what. But I knew one thing. I'm done. So I threw away about $1,000 worth of substances I always had laying around, and I quit cold turkey that day. And that got me sober, but it didn't do anything about how I got there. Depression and all the stuff that had been untreated for years. I mean, that was the year I turned 52. So I'm now 52 years old with no help all those other years. So I went back to work on Monday, sober, and in the position I had, I used to get free stuff because I made decisions that affected other companies, sometimes to the tune of billions of dollars. So I got lots of be nice to Kellan things, free tickets to this concert and free expensive bottles of booze, that kind of stuff. One of the things I got was a pair of tickets to see a Yo-Yo Ma concert. Now, if you know classical music, you know who that is. And if you don't, you don't. But Yo-Yo Ma is a cellist and he's like, ah. So I was really excited but I didn't have anybody to take and I didn't want to waste this other ticket. So I asked in the groups that I managed, who likes classical music? And a woman in one of the groups said, well, I do. And I said, well, have I ever given you anything before? She said, no. I said, okay, fine. See you there. I gave away stuff all the time. So anyway, 3 weeks later, we met at the concert. It was amazing. And now I'm at 3 weeks, stone cold sober. And halfway through the concert, I had this feeling come over me that I recognized from 3 weeks before. And this voice said to me, literally, you need to marry this woman. And I said, you're freaking crazy. I said, I've ruined that 3 times. I do not know how to do this. I'm 3 weeks sober. Are you out of your mind? Right? So anyway, later we're backstage because they were backstage passes and they were like really expensive tickets, $1,000 kind of stuff. And the voice came back and said, comma, and you need to tell her tonight. And so I really went crazy. I thought, well, there's a few problems with that. Number one, I actually know her, meaning she's in one of my groups, but I don't know her well enough to know whether or not she's in a relationship. I mean, I don't think she's married, but, and the other thing is she could have me like arrested for harassment or whatever, right? Like, no. But you don't win those arguments. So I did, as awkward and stupid as it sounded. And it went about like that. And, she said, are you nuts? And left. But the good news is she wasn't in a relationship. And the other piece of good news is she didn't call the cops or HR or whatever. 3 weeks after that, so we're now in the 1st of October, she had her own set of experiences. She walked, and because of that, she walked away from her entire career. I walked away from millions of dollars of contracts. And we walked off into the sunset together. And this coming December, which is in a couple of months, we'll celebrate our 18th wedding anniversary. And her name is Joy. Like, you can't make this stuff up. And she was literally the other half of the divine intervention and had her own soul contract, help me learn how to tell the truth, to have a friend, to be a friend. And she is today my business partner, life partner, and she walks on water. Now, the story is amazing. Those things really happened exactly like I said. But the important thing is stuff like that, it didn't fix me. It was an invitation.
Yeah.
I still had to go get help and go to therapy and crawl over broken glass and deal with addiction withdrawal and all that stuff. But it was enough of a wake up call. And in this case, it was like a baseball bat, big
Yeah.
and loud, that I said, I don't care what it takes. I'm going. So that was the start of this. And for the last 18 years, I've been on the path of both healing myself for the first couple of years really intensely, and then realizing that my experiences could be valuable to serve and bless the lives of others. And
Yeah.
that's the mission I've been on since then.
Thank you for sharing that, because I know it takes vulnerability to do that, and you can feel judged by doing that, but it's brave to share it. And I know it probably doesn't feel brave to you. People say, "Oh, you're brave for sharing your story," but it doesn't feel brave. It just feels like it's the right thing to do. So thank you for sharing that. And there's a like so much in that. I do believe that life and the biggest moments in your life come down to moments. And that moment you said, your divine intervention, is probably the most significant moment of your life to give you what it is that you're experiencing now, which is probably the most beautiful aspect of your life. Not discrediting when each of your 10 children were born and all that kind of stuff, but it's a different type of experience that you're going through now, which only came by getting to the depths of your soul of low and going to hell and
And
coming
there's
back.
no question about that. And I want to repeat something. I said, it doesn't fix you because in the moment, those things are dramatic and it's like, holy crap. But in a week or a month or a year, you know, and things get tough and stuff doesn't work right and crap goes off the rails. And like we barely knew each other. And okay. And she moved in with me in October. We got married in December and it was like, hello. And everybody thought we were nuts. And we were. But what we said is we're doing this because both of us knew this was the path, no matter what the work was going to be to do it. And so as I talk to your listeners, I plead with you two things. Pay attention to the divine nudges you get. Maybe they're gentle whispers. Maybe they're 2x4s like I had. Okay. But choose to pay attention and choose to believe that you're worth it.
Yeah.
Love yourself enough to say yes to the invitations because in the situation that I was in, I was like the poster boy for the guy that should have been left at the bottom of the canyon. And
Yeah.
even in that situation, there was an invitation
Yeah.
to change.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautifully articulated. So let's go to the next step, because I think this is where people get stuck. They say, okay, well, I'm sure they don't language it like you so eloquently did as in invitation. They're just like at a spot, and now they're on this edge where they can go either way, right? You're on the edge of, it's now up to you. You've got to do something. It's not going to happen by
Mm-hmm.
itself. Like you didn't just wake up that day and the next day you were all fixed. You said it like it's taken you years to do that. So let's talk about then that next step. What made you want to do the work?
I hated myself. Before that divine intervention, I didn't tell you this detail, but 2 weeks before that, in August, I had attempted suicide for the second time.
Mm.
And so I hated myself that badly. I couldn't stand who I had become, what a failure I was, what a bad example to kids and others. And I just had concluded the world and myself and kids and everybody would be better off without me. And the next step, like step one, I'm going. I don't know how far this is or where the trail leads. I'm going. That's step one. Step two is that has to be repeated every day because the next day you get up or a week later or a month later and there is
Aiden.
setbacks.
Yeah.
Crap happens. Something doesn't go right and makes you wonder, is this right? Am I doing a stupid thing? Or I can't possibly do this. It's impossible. The thing I needed to learn was to ask for help. All my life, I had lived the sort of male whatever crap and never done that. and to get vulnerable and to go talk to a shrink and to just say, I'm busted. And this is all the shit that's happened, however far back you want to go, and not explain it and not justify it and just say, what do you think? And then shut up. Like,
Mm.
actually ask for help and then listen and say, okay, can I do this? What does it take? What does 1% growth look like? Heck, what does a tenth of a percent look like? I can't do everything all at once. What can I do this week that makes it different than last week? Because even if you're 1% improvement over 100 days, that's barely a little over 3 months. That's 100%.
Yeah.
Like, so step two is, after you say I'm going, is just renew that commitment every day and make a commitment that you are worth it to get the help you need. Love yourself enough to go, be vulnerable, and get help. That's step two.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, firstly, I want to say thank you for being here still. Because like in those moments, I'm sure it's only a matter of seconds, really, from being here to not being here. And, I shared on your show when we spoke that my daughter couldn't make that decision, and she's not here because of that. And, you are now having such an impact on probably millions of people around the world, and people you've never met, you'll never meet, but just in the work that you're doing on your show, is having such a positive impact, and sharing your story is giving hope to those people that think there is no hope. So I want to, honor that in you for being here. You said a couple of really beautiful things there, which I think everyone listening right now, maybe go back, replay those last couple of minutes. But I think one of the things that I've found, where for me, where I know you get to those moments in life where you just know that you're doing the right thing, you're here doing the right thing. I think me losing my live has been a big part of that for me, knowing what I know exactly what I need to do for the rest of my life. I know who I am. It's all authentic. There's no show, whatever. But a big part of that for me has been to identify what my purpose is. And I was wondering if you could perhaps speak to that from your perspective, on whether that was part of your, say, rediscovering, your recalibration, your resetting of yourself. Because I think a lot of people with, well, you can say, okay, life, but you can even narrow it down to different parts, like the intimate relationship side of things, your children relationship, your career, etc. If you don't have a clear purpose, then you just kind of just, oh, I don't know, I'm just showing up each day. So maybe could you just tell us how that's had an impact on you and you identifying your purpose?
Yeah, it'll happen differently for everyone. But for me, what happened is I needed to heal myself first. I was so broken that the first thing I needed to do for a couple of years was to admit I needed help and then just go frickin' go all in and go get it. So that was part one. As that happens, what I notice with me and clients and people I help all over the place is, when we do that work, even start it, there seems to rise up in us the yearning to help others. So as I began to get healed after a couple of years of real work, I started feeling like, you know what, I could really help other busted people, so to speak, with the journey and the realizations that I've had. And I started asking myself, I want to do that, but I don't know what that is. What the frick is that? And I thought, oh, I don't know. I guess that must be like coaching or something. So I began to explore what that would look like. And as I did, I just began doing it. How can I help? And then I began to write, and I've written 21 books now, but I hadn't written any then. And so I started thinking of, how can I honor this yearning? I was rescued. God reached down, whatever you call that divine thing, and offered me an invitation. I said yes. I did the work and crawled over the broken glass to begin to be healed. I responded yes to the urge to help. And then I thought, how do I do that? What
Mm.
can I do to do that? And I didn't know the end. Like this year, my goal is to reach, and my year ends October 14th, which is just pretty soon, is to reach 300 million people with the message of their worth. WIPOS, worth, identity, possibility, ownership, and sovereignty. But I didn't have that kind of vision 18 years ago, 16 years ago, 15 years ago. That has grown over time as I keep saying yes.
Yeah.
And so the key there is to say yes to what's in front of you. If I say I got to know the end game, I don't know what's going to happen 3 years or 5 years from now. Sure, I have goals, but I have learned to just say yes and
Yeah.
do what's in front of me. And the phrase I use is add good to the world. So if you're wondering what to do what's in front of you, add good to the world, and it will show up.
One of the things that I notice, I see this particularly in women, and so I want to, obviously we're two men talking here, but I want you to maybe talk to this part, and it's about, you said you had to make it about you. Now, when I talk to most of the women that I'm coaching, they feel like they can't do that because it feels selfish, because of,
Mm.
they're sacrificing themselves for the kids, the partner, etc., and they put themselves last. So maybe tell me a little, and I know I can say this as a man, that men are seem to be naturally more selfish than women, whether it's the oxytocin or whatever. But perhaps can you talk to giving people permission to work on themselves and not to feel like it's selfish? I can't do that.
First of all, 85% of my clients are women,
Okay.
and they talk about those same things.
Mm,
And here's what I will say to you. I love you for your nurturing and caring spirit. And if you don't put your damn oxygen mask on, you're not going to last very long as the plane goes down.
mm,
So the martyr and, drowning woman, and I've seen them and I've helped them, who is busy being self effacing in the name of service, isn't really serving. They're showing all those people that they're helping that it's not important to love and take care of yourself.
mm.
You're showing yourself that you don't really love yourself enough to do that. So I'm not talking about being selfish. I need this and I got to have this and this makes me feel good and cars and vacays. Screw all that. I'm talking about the blessing of your spirit, the filling of your cup. If I don't or you don't, we don't fill our cup at the
Yeah.
beginning of the day and serve from the overflow, we get empty really quick. And
Often,
then
yeah.
what happens is resentment and negativity, and we get frustrated at those around us. How come they don't appreciate me, those jerkwads? And that thing comes from not having our cup full. You're perfect, you're valuable, you're mighty, and you're needed. And you're most that way when your own cup is full, which means care for your spirit, care for your body, love yourself enough so that you can show up powerfully without resentment for whoever you choose to serve.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said. You also said there's something that I've really recognized in my life too, about looking at what's ahead, saying yes to those things. And I'm very much the same. I don't know what's even going to happen in the rest of this year. I remember recording a podcast at the start of, or the end of last year, the start of this year, and saying, I know that there's going to be some incredible things happen this year that I will say yes to. I have no idea what they are, but I know that they'll be bigger than last year, and I'll know what to say yes to. So therefore, I also don't know what's going to happen in the next 12 weeks of the rest of this year. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 12 months to 3 years, but boy, am I excited about it. And part of the saying the yes to me, I was wondering if you could give me your perspective on this. I am now, for the first time in my life, knowing those things to also say no to. I used to say yes to everything, but now I know, with, well, just because of, I suppose, media profile, my daughter's legacy work and everything, I do have to be careful, because if I say yes to everything, let's say, for instance, you and I today, we really don't align with values and beliefs and so forth. It's like, oh, okay, I'm probably not going to have this conversation because there's just not that alignment. And the more success that you have, that people want to attach themselves to you to ride on your coattails, but it's like, oh, gee. like for instance, when I started this podcast, I would have said yes to anyone and nobody was asking. Now I get requests all the time to be on my show and I have
Sure.
to be careful. And I say no to some. It's like, politely, look, that's just not a good fit for me. So I was wondering if you could talk to the no as well as the yes.
I can. And here's what I want you to think about. And I'm saying this to you, Rob, and you already do it. And I'm saying this to you, listeners. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else because we don't have an infinite amount of time.
Yeah,
And so when you think about like my vision, like the 300 million people I'm trying to reach with that message and encouragement, that vision came over time and after years and all that kind of stuff. And I just ask with the vision that I have I ask several questions, three or four. One is saying yes to this move that vision forward?
yeah,
Does say and or not? And it doesn't mean the question isn't, is it a good thing? Is it a good thing and I could help this person over here? The answer might be yes. I could help with that thing and it's a good thing. That doesn't mean you should say yes to it. You individually have special gifts and talents. You have special life experiences. Your daughter, the things that have happened to me and each one of you listening, you have special experiences that make you uniquely powerful in certain lanes.
yeah,
And the fact that there are other lanes you could dance in and dance well doesn't have anything to do with anything. What will do the most good? What will build the thing you're trying to build? So, number one, is it lined up with what I see as best I can see as my vision and purpose? That's number one. Number two, is the time that it will take going to prevent me from doing something else that is really more aligned with that vision and purpose? Because if I say, yes, I'm going to go do this thing over here, and then that means there's 10 hours this week or next week that I can't spend doing something I know is key, then the answer is no. And here's how you say no. I am so grateful that you asked me to do this for you or with you. Right now, I'm just not able to fit that in. And if you have a recommendation, say, you could talk to so and so or this situation, or I don't really have any ideas for you, but if I find something, I will certainly get back to you. I love what you're doing. It's just not a good fit for me right now. So say yes, say no, say thank you, say no, and don't feel guilty for 1 millionth of a second.
yes, yeah. Really well said. One of the things that I have changed in my, say, definition of health over the past, it's probably only been 5 years. I mean, I've been looking after myself for over 37 years now, like working out, eating,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. But I know it's like I'm 57 now, and I don't know whether it's a wisdom age kind of thing. And I've redefined, I suppose, what health is. Yes, I still like a part of it is the aesthetics, but let's be honest, the way that I started when I was 20 years of age, it was about how I looked. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted. Now I still want to look good, but it comes down to now more my definition of health, which I've really tapped into the concept of energy. And if I'm living my life in a healthy way, then I have an abundance of energy to do whatever it is that I want. And so I'm wondering if this is a part of you. And if I go back to say your 18 years ago, I know that when we're in the height of, like the success in what you're doing, whether you're getting that dopamine hit by getting a new contract or something like that, we're running on a lot of adrenaline. And then maybe when that adrenaline starts to die, then you're going for the hit of the coke or whatever, and that's keeping you up as well. And you're riding this wave, but it's kind of fake energy. It's not real, and it's not health energy. It's adrenaline and substance. And so I'm just really curious, like all my high performing people, I like to talk about, get their perspective of energy because it enables us to do more. And then that, to me, if you reverse engineer energy, well, that means, okay, well, I've got to make myself healthier. And yeah, that means I've
And
got
I would,
to eat better and everything. So I'd love your perspective.
you betcha. And I use the acronym SPEM, SPEM, spiritual, physical, emotional, mental. And I have a daily creation process. And I don't call it a morning ritual, morning routine, because that's too cliche. So I call it a DCP, and I create myself every day. And I use SPEM, spiritual, physical, emotional, mental categories. And I know some people have 15 categories in their life. Yeah, screw that's too complicated. So
Too
I
many.
got yeah, too many. I got four things. I spend time every morning without fail. I never skip under any circumstances. In spiritual practice, it might be reading sacred literature, prayer, meditation, but the goal is outcome based. Do I feel connected to the divine? And I don't quit that part until the answer is yes. Then I do some physical things. Now I've got some disc deterioration and I hobble a little with a cane, but I did martial arts for decades, so I know how to stretch and get limber and do things and honor the body and wake it up. And I do that no matter what else I'm going to do today, so that my container is like tuned up. And then E is emotional, and that's all my relationships. So either during meditation, or I grab my phone and I'll thumb through WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, and I will be inspired about sending messages of love or encouragement or repair or something to nurture and bless my relationships. M is mental, and I've got a stack of about 30 books over there that I'm in the middle of, all of them. And so I'll take that and read for a little time to keep that going. And so I use these processes so that when I start my day, I'm like all in. I'm in my Olympic level form. I'm here, all in every day, all the time. And that means I have spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental energy. I'm here with you, and I'm doing nothing else with everything I do every day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And look, every high performing person from, I've interviewed like some billionaires, high net wealth people, Olympic gold medalists, people that are high performers across, yeah, it's just experts and great in their field. And everybody has not a dissimilar routine to that, but everybody does it their way, right? So you mentioned
Of
there
course.
spirit, which is really important. Now, I'm not religious, and so I'd like to just present to people you don't have to think, okay, you've got to read the Bible each day. The spirit to me is about how do I put out good energy in the world? How do I make me a better person? All that kind of stuff. And similarly, the same thing. It's about a process every day of kind of, like you said, rebuilding yourself, reconnecting with yourself every single day, being grateful. To me, that's about being spiritual. How do I put out more? How do I how do I leave this place better because of my presence? Like moving your body, setting your day up for success, all of those types of things. So I thank you for sharing that, because I think you've got to find your routine and do it your way. But you also, if you look at the highest performing people on the planet, I bet you do that 7 days a week and not just five or three or whatever. I'm sure you do it 7 days a week because
I would no sooner skip my morning daily creation process than I would run outside here in Edmonton in the middle of winter in the snow in minus 40 naked, period. I never skip. You
yeah,
know why? Not because I'm a fanatic, not because I'm weird, because it sucks.
yeah,
I want to be that guy. I
yeah,
like that. I don't like not that, or whatever the right way to say that is. I'm going to do that every day no matter what, because
yeah,
I want to show up. I don't want to show up someday half baked.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
I never skip.
So I just want to ask you a couple more questions. What would you say has been like some of the greatest advice you've ever received?
Mm. You know, sometimes, and this is direct inspiration, so we'll say it came from spirit, whatever that is for you. Sometimes when you're in the middle of trying to create something, I'm launching a university in January. I just finished a book. I've got another one underway. I'm doing all these different things with the goal of reaching people with the message. And sometimes it feels like you're shouting in the wind, or you're not doing the right things, or you don't know if it's going to have the impact, or you think, who am I? And all that kind of crap that comes in our head. And sometimes in that frustration, in guess what? The spiritual part of my morning preparation, I will just sit in quietly with that. And the answer comes every time: do what's in front of you, keep going, and have fun. And I thought, I didn't expect it to be like that. And the whisper of do what's in front of you. In other words, stop trying to see beyond do what's in front of you.
Take the
Keep
steps.
going, have fun. Like, go be this thing. Life is supposed to be enjoyable, even when stuff sucks and there's setbacks and you fall on your face and all that crap. That's just part of the gig. So the best advice, do what's in front of you, keep going, have fun.
Beautiful. What you've said this a couple of times now, which I want to come back to this because men are not great at doing this, and I know that you are. And it's relevant for women too, but men, like from our era, are certainly not great at this. And that's getting stuff out of your head. And like you obviously go through a process each day in, like resetting yourself and getting stuff out. You mentioned about, yeah, like to a therapist, like just getting everything out and then saying, what do you think? Tell me how important that is to you and how we can encourage more men to just not stay stuck in their heads because it's around, like I think it's 45 to 55 years of age, Australian men. I think it's, don't quote me anyone, but I think it's around the highest risk of suicide for men
Wow.
because it's often a stage where the kids have left home, they realize that they've been really dependent on their spouse, whatever, and they just feel like completely broken and lost now. Uh, but most of them will never talk about it and just do things silently. So just just tell me how important that is for you and how can we encourage more men to just get out of themselves?
Here's the word. The one word I'll use is not going to be the word you expect. And the word is forgiveness. And here's why. For me, it was really important. Forgiving parents and things that happened growing up, forgiving myself for all the things that happened. And we misunderstand. We think forgiveness only comes when two people agree. Has nothing to do with that. Forgiveness is a choice that you make for yourself to no longer allow events in the past to have power in the present. And that is true whether it's something you did or didn't do, or whether it's something someone else did or didn't do that involved you. It unleashes you. As long as you care, as I carried the need for justice for that, or I suck because of, either way the finger was pointing, all it did was make me stew in that very thing. I can't fix it. It's over. It's too late. I'm no good. Who can help me? The time has passed. Oh, crap. And over again. The answers are just love and forgiveness. You're perfect where you are. You know how I know? Because that's where you are. You can't be anywhere else. So start where you are and make a choice to. I can't do good in the world if I'm carrying rocks in my backpack. And rocks in my backpack are people I haven't forgiven, myself I haven't forgiven, stuff I won't let go, all that crap. And so if you have to get help with a shrink or with a coach or whatever, do it. Like unload. Because that heaviness you're feeling, that age, is because you feel unfinished. There's this unfinished business. I didn't do what I thought. I didn't, all of that crap piles on you and you have to unload it. So go do whatever it takes to unload it so that you can be your very best today.
Yeah, well articulated. Thank you so much. Kellan, this has been completely awesome. I mean, there's so many golden nuggets here. I think everybody should go back and re-listen to this maybe a few times because Kellan has just mentioned so many different aspects here that we're not talking about rocket science here, but we are talking about strategically taking those next steps forward to move your life from where you are to just where it is that you don't even know you want to be, but you just know you want to be forward. So I appreciate that, Kellan. If people want to work with you, I'm going to put the links below in the description here to the podcast. How do people get in touch? How can they reach out?
The easiest way is right here, KellanFluckigerMedia.com. KellanFluckigerMedia.com. That shows all the books that I have, the podcast. There's a contact form, all kinds of stuff. So all the stuff that I'm up to, you can find me on all the socials. I can't hide with a name like Kellan Fluckiger, I'm easy to find. But the media page is like the kind of the headquarters of stuff.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out today to connect with me. Amazing. I loved our last interview that we did. And I think I've been invited to you got a radio show coming up. We're going to do an episode, I think, in about a month or so as well, which I'm really looking forward to. Always love connecting with you. You have such great insights. thank you again for remaining here on planet Earth and for sharing all your wisdom with your 300 million goal will not be far away. Thanks so much for today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Rob, for having me.